Shalom, shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Chahakwadash. Double honors to our apostles who are elders rule well. Blessings and salutations to you brothers out there teaching and enduring truth, sincerity. This Rob Amar for the Nebraska camp. This is GMS, and he pushed to the mark. And I just wanted to, go over a chapter real quick. The brother mentioned it on the highways, and it just kept on just pinging in my head. And so it made me go and read the whole chapter in itself. And then, hey, why not share it with the Akim as a constant reminder, of making the ears fat and going over these prophecies and the ultimate prophecy, which these false prophets don't want to go over, is the destruction, the end. Okay? They like to talk about what the Lord has a blessing and what he's coming to do. That's as close to the end they're going to get to is, the Lord's coming to save us, we're going to be all right. But, they don't want to talk about that hard transition, Jacob's trouble, famine, MOTB, okay? Because they want to live deliciously among these heathen and try to ignore what the Lord has in store, which is going to lead the flock to the slaughter. But that's neither here nor there. We're going to get to it. Jeremiah 50:1, it says, the word that the Lord spake against Babylon and against the land of the Chaldeans by Jeremiah the prophet. Okay, and this is a prophecy. Okay, now Jeremiah bounced back and forth to ancient Babylon, modern Babylon, within the chapter and within the verse sometimes. So there's context that has to be applied. Okay, it says, declare ye among the nations and publish and set up a standard. Okay, and that's what we're doing. Okay, we're going on because it says prophets. Let me see. Let's get that real quick. All right, it says Jeremiah 28:8. It says the prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied against what? Both against many countries and great nations, of war and of evil and of pestilence. And that's what we're doing. Okay? And that's, again, this is how you try the spirit by the spirit. Go and look at everybody and see what's being prophesied and how it's being prophesied. Because some have mentioned the war and the pestilence, but they don't mention the light of the destruction needing to come, justice needing to be served, things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, just got distracted. But we're not sent here to hand out sandwiches. We're not sent here to, to marry and to give in marriage. It happens, but that's not our duty as prophets. Okay, we're called to prophesy against countries and many kingdoms. So those who are observing this should take note. All right, because there's context, there's clues, there's connecting the dots, because there's antichrist, there's false prophets. Try the spirit by the spirit, simple. Okay, so let's go back to Jeremiah chapter 50, and it says, declare ye among the nations, verse 2, and publish and set up a standard and conceal not. See, ain't no hiding it, no omitting information. Okay, talking about Jacob's troubles already passed or things like that. We're sent out here to prophesy directly and correctly. Okay, no dross in our silver. Okay, say Babylon is taken, Bel is confounded, Marduk is broken in pieces, her idols are confounded, her images are broken in pieces. And pretty much that's representative of their culture, the way they, their power, the source of power, the things they believe, the American dream, all that is being broken. All right, it's shattered. It's the breach. There's a breach in that wall, and it's going to fall, and it's ready to fall, and it's going to fall on everybody who trusted in that wall. All right. It says, for out of the north there cometh up a nation against her. So, and what's north of America is not talking about Canada. All right. And I think, forget the guy name, talking about, like these naysayers, at the end of the day, it's talking about, Russia, the USSR, and things like that. It says, for out of the north cometh up a nation against her, which shall make her land desolate, and none shall dwell therein. They shall remove, they shall depart, both man and beast, Because ultimately, you know, the Lord's going to put hooks into Gog and Magog's jaws and turn them to their old USSR ways. And all this is prophecy, and all this is coming to pass because, you know, Russia has always been a strong adversary of America. You know, partially they had big reasons of going in there because of 9/11, because of Russia, you know, because Russia was gaining influence in Eurasia, you know, so they, you know, formed alliances and allegiances and things like that. And because, you know, when you go into that 9/11 situation, it really was a bunch of things in play. And one of the things that was in play was the idea of inciting the American citizens to want to go to war, because Vietnam had killed that desire, because they wanted to get out there in the Middle East and station out there, so that way they can start, you know, setting up their double agents, their spies, and their military bases to take peace from the earth. Okay, as that red horse does. Okay, and these are one of the many tactics. But the whole point I'm trying to make is that, you know, even when you go into the history of the wars, is something I want to go into as well. It's like it's really an economic thing. It's a control, trying to be the, you know, king on the hill. It has nothing to do with communism. You know, it has nothing to do with democracy. It's nothing to do with laws. It has everything to do with who is running the best country, and economically, who's trading with who the most, who has the most resources to be traded with, and things like that. Because over history, they've learned through the East Indian Trading Company, you can't, you know, Europe don't have no money. They don't have no resources, so you can't just keep forking over money and then taking resources, because you're gonna deplete yourself. You know, similar to with Israel and Egypt. They kept paying them money. They ain't had nothing to recompense it, and eventually they had to sell themselves into slavery, right? So, you know, this is a common sense thing, but, you know, I'll continue on. I don't want to stop too long on that. Verse 5, it says, they shall ask, Salakia, it says, in those days and in that time, saith the Lord, this verse 4, the children of Israel shall come, they and the children of Judah together, going and weeping, they shall go and seek the Lord their power. You know, and this is almost a jump around, because that's what's going on now. You know, that's what's been happening. You know, when everybody like to talk about One West and all that, that's the beginning of that. All right, whether you heathen like it or not, whether vocab likes it or not, whether are you younger camps that's popping up like it or not, you know, the Spirit of the Lord is already cemented in that moment and in that time. You know, just like the house of David, the house of Saul, the Lord was dealing with that. No matter what happened, the Lord still was involved, and He anointed Saul to do what he did to establish Israel. So that, you know, what Saul did doesn't cancel what Israel did. You know, what happened with Comfy doesn't cancel what the Lord set up in One West. You know, and people like to discredit a whole thing because they really can't combat it. So they're going to try to nitpick and find something wrong to try to break the whole thing down. All right, but that's Esau's tactics, so Jake should catch on to that. So, but I'll go back and says, then shall ask the way to Zion with their faces thither toward, yeah, you know, the right way. All right, facing what? The temple, you know, the covenant, getting back to our ways. You know, as the scripture said, then they shall remember themselves. Okay? So when we go into the book of Baruch, chapter 2, verse 30, it says, for I knew that they would not hear me, because it's a stiff-necked people. But in the land of their captivity, they shall what? Remember themselves. Okay? And that's us turning our face towards Zion and towards the temple. We're remembering ourselves, because we're the only nation that has lost our heritage, and that's prophesied that we shall be discontinued from our heritage. Those Amalekites, those small hats, never been discontinued. They popped up like they've been on it, and they never was ever separated. Because when they're in the Holocaust, they weren't separated from their heritage. They knew technically, or so-called, they knew who they were then. So it'll never, that prophecy has never been fulfilled in their account. but it's been fulfilled in our account, because that's why we're being called Black Hebrew Israelites and things like that, right? So it says, verse 6, my people have been lost sheep. Their shepherds have caused them to go astray. They have turned them away on the mountains. They have gone from mountain to hill. They have forgotten their resting place, and that's how our people end up getting in this situation, because a lot of our people were selling out, taking deals, taking Judas purses, and it's happening now. And you can see, based off how it's happening now, how much of an impact it causes on people. Like you got niggas talking about the heathen can make it, because they're taking bags. It's an economic benefit for them. So they're willing to mangle the scriptures. Okay, how we get Easter into the Bible. There's a lot of things, concepts, comes from not keeping it square and trying to do things outside of, the Lord's will, and you trying to consider yourself or the people. Okay. It says obedience is better than sacrifice, but that's going into those who try to please the people. But a lot of these jakes now are just taking a bag and leading. They ain't talking about the MOT. Ain't no microchip. Saying things like that, having the people go straight. Okay. So verse 7 says, all that found them have devoured them, and their adversary said, we offend not. Yeah, because dealing with the whole nation, man, like the dog licking our wounds, man. All the heathen have found us, and they abuse us. They'll go and come in your neighborhoods, sell you product, messed up product, and then look down on you in the midst of it. Okay, they'll call the police on you. They'll try to hurt you. Okay, they'll use bywords, deny you of certain opportunities. We ain't just talking about Esau, we're talking about heathen. They jump in this. You got Hamites coming over here talking about like we're lazy and Jay lazy and all this and that. But their ass will come over here and reap the benefits of Jake getting the ass beat from the civil rights, which was that's BS in itself. But the whole point is that Jake had enough guts to do it, so they ass can come over here, but they'll still call Jake lazy. This is the curse and the plight that we're under, man. Again, it says we offend not, because so like it says, all that found them have devoured them, and their adversary said, we offend not, because they have sinned against the Lord, the habitation of justice, even the Lord, the hope of their fathers. And that goes back into, the accuser of our brethren. This is the tactic of him being an accuser of us. They what it says, entice a man to drink. Okay, going into, I believe it's Habakkuk. Okay, let's see here, see if I can find it. It says Habakkuk 2:15, woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink, that putteth thy bottle to him, and maketh him drunken also, that thou mayest do what? Look on their nakedness. So they'll sit there and entrap Jake, and then say, look, Lord, look at what they're doing. They ain't shit, right? Verse 8 says, remove out of the midst of Babylon, and go forth out of the land. Let me make sure I'm at where I'm at. Yeah. It says, remove out of the midst of Babylon, and go forth out of the land of the Chaldeans, and be as the he goats, and be as the he goats before the flock. Okay, and the thing is that they come out of her, my people. Okay, it says, for lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. And that's another thing is that Russia's coming back together. The USS, because that whole Ukraine, Crimea, and a lot of them are coming back together because they're trying to economically stabilize themselves while they're watching the whole NATO and the EU. take over everywhere else. They're watching these countries encamp, Babylon and the dragon encamp around them, via through Turkey and Poland, and they're even trying to get Greenland, and do things. So that's going to, again, put hooks into Magog and Gog's jaws and get them to reassemble again, okay, along with other nations, okay. It says, for lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon assembly of nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows, which is the thermonuclear missiles, shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. Yeah, because once those missiles are shot off, ain't no coming back. All right, and they ain't got no name on it. All right, it actually do got a name on it. It's the wicked and the heathen. Okay, but the elect name ain't on that missile, because they're going to pass through the fire. Lord's will, we are part of that number. Okay, it says, and Chaldea shall be a spoil. All that spoil her shall be satisfied, saith the Lord. You know what I'm saying? And we'll just continue. It's common sense, but it says, because ye were glad, because ye rejoiced, O ye destroyer of mine heritage. All right, because Esau has been the destroyer. He says, come and let us sit upon a mount of the congregation, which is us, and the sides of the north, which is in North America. That north is North America. And they sat on top of us and said that they're the Most High, and they've created laws. They've created bywords. Just like I was watching this one video just recently with this podcaster Myron just going off. We tired of you in bonds. We tired of you niggas. We tired of you. Like these dudes ain't hiking up the gas prices. Ain't hiking up the mortgage prices. Ain't the way of wages is and divide the taxes. The laws that's being passed, the food that's being fucked up, the people you're killing and destroying. He's Arab or he's Indian. They're being destroyed over there, Muslim or whatever, and they're doing all this killing. But you tired of niggas though. This is what I'm saying with the nations, are licking the wounds, man. And trying to join in on the festivities, and that's why they're going to go down as well. So when people ask, well, why when we tell them the judgment of the Lord, why would you, Lord, do such things like that? I can't accept that. Like, but you letting all this other shit slide on the nation of Israel, and it be our own people making that argument, But continuing on, it says, because ye were glad, because ye rejoice, O ye destroyer of my heritage, because you are grown fat as the heifer at grass and bellow as bulls. Yeah, and they ate good. All right, America has got a good groundhold through chattel slavery, okay? And then having Jake fight in the wars, having Jake build everything, the infrastructure, all that, man. Okay, they've gotten fat, all right? And the Lord knows. You can bring out your semantics saying somebody agreed to it or whatever. The Lord know. Lord know Jake was either tricked, Jake was forced. You know what I'm saying? Jake ain't had no choice. Even Esau can understand that if somebody signed a contract and is under duress, that is void. That's why you can't argue with a devil, man, because they'll try to bring out laws and records to try to bring incredulity and try to hide their ways and act like it's not wicked because they got paperwork or something like that. Like they don't have a gun to your head or they'll starve you out, But because he like to play that game of consent with people. Continuing on, verse 12, it says, your mother shall be sore confounded. She shall be bare. You shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost parts of the nation shall be a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert, because of what? The lake of fire that's going to come upon the land of North America and going to turn this place into a desert, okay, where only foul creatures like owls and hares and rattlesnakes and what you call them, vultures, all right, desert creatures, okay. It says, because of the wrath of the Lord, it shall not be inhabited, but it shall be wholly desolate, Everyone that goeth by Babylon shall be astonished and hiss at all her plagues, which is going to see the smoke and smell of her burning, pursuant to Revelations, the 18th chapter, right? Put yourselves in array against Babylon, round about, all ye that bend the bow. Shoot at her, spare no arrows, for she hath sinned against the Lord. So if you ever wonder how a place that's thriving, got waterfalls, Grand Canyons, is going to turn into a barren desert, this place is going to be nuked. Okay, it's going to be like a loaf of bread put in a microwave with no water in it. It's going to get stale, hard, lifeless. Okay, it's going to be nuked, cleansed by fire. All right, because that blood that was shed on land, it can't be cleansed until it's cleansed by the blood of him that shed it. All right, and that ultimate cleansing agent is going to be fire, and that ultimate redemption is going to be Edom's blood and all the heathen that partake in our downfall. Okay, it says, it says she have sinned against the Lord, but it says, shout against her round about. She have given her hand, her foundations are fallen, her walls are thrown down. For it is the vengeance of the Lord. Take vengeance upon her, as she have done, do unto her. And then Revelation said, do it double. Okay? Do it double. Cut off the sword from Babylon, and him that handleth the sickle, and in the time of harvest, for fear of the oppressing sword, they shall turn every one to his people, and they shall flee every one to his own land, because they're gonna be afraid, but yet there's fight. They're gonna try to line up and get because they got space, armies, you know what I'm saying, and they're trying to fight against the Lord. They're trying to prepare because they're doing wickedness. They know the Lord coming back. All right, they're just trying to catch up with his technology, which is the dumbest thing ever, but they're gonna still try to do it. They think lies are gonna work. They gonna, it's just like a nigga woman think you can just lie and it works, but it works with man. It ain't gonna work with the Most High. You ain't gonna be able to use propaganda, CNN on the Most High. Shit ain't, the Lord ain't regulated to them rules. Oh my God, I can't believe that. Oh, that chair got aliens in it. The Lord ain't. Oh my bad. He ain't gonna come out. I ain't no alien. No, he's gonna blaze this motherfucker. Blaze it to dust, man. All right? Lord ain't gonna be playing all them games. But he gonna find out. He gonna find out real soon. So it says, it says Israel is scattered. Israel is a scattered sheep. The lion have driven him away. First the king of Assyria have devoured him, and last this Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, have broken his bones. So, and this is proof that we've been pushed across the four corners of the earth, and we're displaced. Okay, and ultimately the Assyrian kingdom is how the northern kingdom ended up in America, and then the Portuguese and Europe, the deadly wound that was healed, end up having big parts in us, Judah coming to America. So at the end of the day, they have parts in our destruction, in attempted genocide, wicked chattel slavery, okay, and things of that nature. And the Lord said, just like it said, because you touched the apple of my eye, he's going to judge Esau. All right, and he just got his staff up. His staff has still got a little strength to it. So he got his military, he got his propaganda, he got his money system. He got his tactics. His power, his CNN, his propaganda, his avenues to, make people, even though people see bullshit, they just still go with it, because how they gonna pay their bills? How they gonna live it up? How they gonna, get to this finish line of being this person they envision in their mind? How you gonna be this two garage home boss lady that takes vacations to Dubai? Once you say I'm not gonna be a part of the system, then Dubai is out the question. The two garage home is out the question. Because you got to do what? Go to your enemy for one of all things. And a lot of our people don't want to do that, and they're going to be destroyed with them. Because like the scripture say, those who are found with them shall be what? Thrust through. So that's all I wanted to bring out, man. With that being said, I'm gonna give all praises unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakak double honors to our apostles, who are elders, who well. Blessings, citation, brothers out there teaching and enduring truth, sincerity. Shalom.